right, let's keep it that way. Hey, gentlemen, when the shuttle lands and this thing is all over, what's the next step in space exploration, and what do you think and what do you want your roles to be in it in the future?
Well, there's a lot going on. You know, we're going to continue to man the International Space Station at least for the next decade. So we've got folks training and working there. So there's an opportunity to fly again in space doing that. We've also got our Orion MPCV crew vehicle that we're working on at NASA. We've got commercial providers eventually working on commercial transportation to and from the International Space Station. And, you know, I think Chris and I just, you know, we would like to contribute wherever we can. We love the space business. You know, we've flown our entire lives, and we'd like to continue supporting that if we can.
Beautiful.
Chris, we just have to sort of double check something. Yuki has some people talking to him on Facebook, and they mentioned that you may have talked at the U2 concert yesterday. Are you a big U2 fan?
Actually, I'm a huge U2 fan, and I don't know if we talked at the U2 concert, but we did have, U2's been a huge proponent of the space program, and I know that they've been involved with uplinks and downlinks many times in the past.
That's fantastic. And before we go, I know, of course, we've all said that you've graduated Archbishop Ryan High School, Drexel University, and when it comes to those two schools and your family, how did that moment, those moments back then, prepare you for what's going on right now, being a Philly guy?
I got a wonderful education there in Philadelphia. That's where I developed a love of science and math. Drexel University, and actually I have a little piece of the Fells Planetarium from the Franklin Institute on board. So all places I loved to spend time when I was a child, and developed, like I said, a love of flying and a love of math and science. So it's a great city for technology, and I miss it a lot.
Oh, gentlemen, we thank you so much for your efforts and your contributions to the space program, to you and the team and the rest of everyone up there. Continued success, and keep those Yankees-Phillies conversations to a minimum. We'll see you when you get back down on terra firma. Right. Take care. Godspeed. Take care.
Take care. Godspeed. Take care. Have a great day.
Atlantis ISS, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the KYW TV portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from the Associated Press.
Atlantis Station, this is the Associated Press. How do you hear me?
We have you loud and clear aboard the International Space Station.
Well, good morning. Talking to you from the Kennedy Space Center today. My first question for you, Commander, I'm wondering how unsettling was it to be awakened by the alarms last night, and how worried are you about the general state of the computers, considering this is the second such failure?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You know, of course, the alarm went off about an hour or so after we fell asleep, and I think that that's when you're in your deepest state of sleep. So we all woke up and looked at one another, and you know, we're wondering really what was going on. But we were up in the flight deck in no time, and I'll tell you, the ground support team on the ground there, you know, the Orbit 3 shift, who usually works while we're sleeping, they were all over the problem, and they had us put some corrective action, and we were back in bed in probably about a half hour or so. And then this morning, we again, working with our ground control folks in Houston, got that general purpose computer up and running. So we're very optimistic it's going to work for entry. Of course, we had an earlier problem with one of our GPCs as well. So we're doing well here, and I'm confident everything's going to look good when we undock in a couple days.
Well, thank you. I know the two crews gathered last night aboard Atlantis for a special dinner. Was that the all-American meal with the chicken and beef brisket? And was there any chat during the dinner about this being the last shuttle flight? I'm just wondering if that sort of put a damper on the festivities.
Actually, you know, first of all, it was a fantastic meal. We shared it with our American, Japanese, and Russian counterparts on the middeck. And, you know, we're friends from a long time back, so we shared, you know, more memories of our early years in the astronaut office. It's one of the few opportunities we get to talk to our Russian partners and share experiences that we've had in common with spacewalks and some of the operations that we've done together. We did reminisce a little bit about the upcoming end of the shuttle program. As a matter of fact, I do recall saying, hey, you know, this is the last joint meal that we're ever going to have aboard a space shuttle. And You know, it's a little bit of a sobering, somber moment, but at the same time, we're extremely fortunate to have had 37 missions, I think, to the International Space Station now. So we're very lucky to have done this.
And was that the all-American meal you enjoyed last night?
Absolutely. I think it included, like you said, chicken, beef brisket. There was a lot of corn on the menu. We had some great appetizers, and then we had good old-fashioned apple pie for dessert.
Oh, that sounds pretty good for space. Another question for either of you or both. Yesterday, NASA announced that Steve Lindsay's last day at work is today, and I'm wondering, do you anticipate a lot more astronaut departures in the coming weeks following your mission? And what about you two? Are you both going to be sticking around for the duration?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's really based on each individual within the office and, you know, what their family's desires are or where they want to live and what they want to do, you know, after they've decided they've done what they wanted to do in the astronaut office. You know, we have a typical attrition of, you know, 6 to 8 people a year, and I think we're pretty much following that. You know, for me personally, you know, and we talked about this before, I'd love to stay around and help out. You know, we still have plenty of flying opportunities aboard the International Space Station, and then, you know, we've got a chance to develop a new vehicle that's going to go beyond low Earth orbit. So, I mean, from my standpoint, it's a pretty exciting time to be here and continue to contribute and use the experience that we've gained on these shuttle flights to press forward.
Commander, you haven't changed your plans to stay with NASA, have you?
No, I have no plans. The last 9 months have been extraordinarily focused on this mission and this mission alone. You know, with regard to the attrition, a lot of our office, probably about a third of our office, was former military pilots, and you know, pilots like to do what pilots like to do, and that's fly airplanes. And there will be a gap here of several years where you know, a pilot is going to want to do what a pilot wants to do, and I can certainly understand everybody has their own personal preferences, and there'll be a little bit of lull in piloting activity until we get our next spacecraft. So, you know, in the interim, I can understand why people make the choices that they do.
I'm wondering, I know there are several more days left in your flight, but so far, if you each had to choose, what is the one highlight of your mission, the memory that you're going to take back with you and keep forever?
Well, I actually have two. The first would be the EVA we did the other day, where Sandy and I were running the space station robotic arm from the cupola, and to have both Mike and Ron fly right out in front of us, you know, within feet. You know, it really seemed like it was out of a science fiction movie. You know, you could see the expression on their faces as they're riding the arm wherever they were going. And it was just, you know, it's kind of seared into my memory. And then the other one actually happened last night. We were flying west of Australia, kind of at the bottom of our orbit, and saw an incredible southern lights aurora. And, you know, it was the best one I've seen in my 2 space flights, and it was just unbelievable, the view we had out the cupola.
I'll share my personal moment, and it was the same one I had on my last flight. You know, as we rendezvous with the space station, you approach it from below, and you pause there to do the rotation maneuver. And it's just that moment as you're poised there beneath this incredibly mammoth space station. And it really is, it's just a feeling of awe, and you're humbled by what humans can create when they work together to do things in space. It's just, it's an incredibly memorable moment, and I will never, ever, ever duplicate it or forget it.
Well, thank you very much, both of you. Godspeed to you and your crew, and Godspeed to Space Shuttle Atlantis.
Atlantis ISS, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes the event.
Thank you, CBS Radio, KYWTV, and the Associated Press. Atlantis crew on the ISS, we are now resuming operational audio communications. Good job, guys.